Healthy Joints, Healthy Lifestyle show. For those who don't know me, my name is Dr. Arinola Dada, and I run the Healthy Joints, Healthy Lifestyle show. So today we have an amazing guest. It's been really, really fun getting to know Gary Ho. He's just one of those people that has really found a passion, and that passion happens to also really result in significant advocacy for people who are dealing with gout. So Gary Ho, hi Gary. He's
Hello. Hi.
he's a patient advocate, nonprofit leader, co-founder of Gout Support Group of America. So it's wonderful to collaborate with you, and a national nonprofit supporting education and empowering people that are dealing with gout. So Gary, could you tell us a little bit about why you do what you do?
Yeah, thank you. And I'm so happy to be here with you, Dr. Dada. My journey started way back in 1994. It came out of my own personal struggles with gout. At the time, I was 24 years old. I was actually in college, walking from one campus location to the next class, actually, just walking across campus. And honestly, I felt something like a twinkle of pain in my ankle that day, I remember. And then by evening, my right ankle was just throbbing in pain. And I didn't do anything. There was no explanation for the pain. It felt like I had broken my ankle.
Oh.
Um, it was horrendous, right? I'd never experienced anything like that before. I called up my dad and I remember asking him, Dad, this is what's going on. What do you think it might be? And for the first time in my life, I heard the word gout. He says, Gary, I have gout. Your grandfather has gout. You might have gout. And I thought, what in the world is this? And he advised me to go see a physician right away. And back then I was able to get into a doctor's office within about 2 weeks. And I still remember that time. I came into his office and he had his white coat on. He leaned back in his chair. He says, how can I help you? And I just told him the whole story. And he says, I wonder if you were just a little bit too physical. And I said, well, my dad says that he has gout and that gout runs in our family. I might have gout. And I still can see him just looking at me, smiling a little bit. And he says, you are way too young to have gout.
Mm.
You might have done something and you just
Mhm.
don't remember it. So I can offer you some pain medication, but I wouldn't worry too much. And I remember being over the moon. I was so happy and I was like, oh, I can't wait to tell my dad that I don't have gout. This is great. And like the doctor said, with time, it did go away. The pain went away. But unfortunately, that was the beginning of a 16-year journey for me because yes, as time went on, that pain came back. And each time it would come back, it would be more ferocious and it would last longer. I didn't know what it was back then, but I know now that these were gout flares that were coming back to me. And during that time, whenever a gout flare would come on, I would then take some over-the-counter pain medication or I would go see a doctor and I would hear the same thing over and over and over again. You're too young to have gout. Or I would feel like I'm taking my car to a mechanic shop where I would say, there's a noise in my car. And they would consistently tell me, well, we can't find that noise. So bring the car back when it's making the noise again, right? And it was this cycle that kept repeating to, honestly, it was 2010, Dr. Daughter. I'm now 40 years old. Remember, my first gout attack was at 24.
Wow.
It's 2000, or I'm sorry, 2010, and I was 40 years old, and then I was able to see a rheumatologist because my insurance changed. I didn't have to go through a regular doctor. So I just Googled, who might be the specialist on gout, went and found a gout specialist, a rheumatologist in Austin, Texas. That's where I was living at the time. And I was so angry. I was so angry at that time. I was broken. I had hit rock bottom. I'm about 240 pounds. I had lost all mobility. I'm using crutches and sometimes in a wheelchair. And I vomited all over him for 10 minutes and I told him my journey. And he said to me, he said, Gary, you might have gout.
Oh God.
And my soul like opened up. I had a mixed emotion, just a lot
Yeah,
of emotions that I was going through.
definitely.
But he said something that really rubbed me just wrong in the sense that he just said, we just need to do a blood test. And then from that blood test, we'll be able to tell. And I thought my brain just went back to all the experiences I had for 16 years.
Yes,
I
yeah. Why
thought,
didn't somebody do a blood test for goodness sake?
I thought,
It's
oh my
very
God,
frustrating.
if you're right, all these experiences could have been avoided. Long story short, the test came back. My uric acid level was above 10. I was quickly diagnosed with chronic gout, which opened up the door for treatments that, towards the cause of gout versus just masking pain medication and whatnot. And so that was the beginning of my comeback, regaining
And
a
that
body.
can be, I think that can be really frustrating. And thank you so much for sharing that intimate aspect of just how, how you as a young man experienced and even went in with the diagnosis. Your dad gave you that diagnosis, but still, when you got into the healthcare space, because it was somewhat atypical for young men to have gout, the doctor just kind of didn't really hear you and didn't follow through. And my question though is, do you remember, and I know it's been a long time now, how long between that first time that you went in and the next time? Was that years, months? Do you remember at all?
Yeah, so ultimately, I think that question goes back to from the first flare, how long was it till the next flare, and then, the cycle of it. So, back when I was 24, I had my first flare, and maybe I didn't get another flare for another year or so,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah,
it started out very slow.
yeah,
But then as time went on, that the duration between flare to flare shortened
yeah.
to the point where when I'm 40, I have multiple flares per
Mm,
year.
yeah.
And my average flare, when it began, it might last a couple of days
Mm,
to where at 40, it's lasting for a couple of months or longer. And if anyone is in the gout club like me, where you're living with gout, when a flare comes on, there's no dulling the pain. It's a constant, ferocious. The best way to describe the pain when it's on is it's like having 1,000 little tiny men inside your body with pitchforks, and
yeah.
they're trying to jab their way out, and it's consistently, it's endless, very, very painful, very sensitive. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that unfortunately, lots of people, have been in your situation, which is, maybe they're not lucky enough to have somebody like your dad who had that insight, but they get this attack, they go in, they're told it's some kind of injury or anything but gout, right? And then they're told it's going to go away, and it does, because that's kind of the
mhm.
history of gout is you have this attack, they resolve, and then it comes back a month, 2 months, a year later. And then people try to find, like, oh, was it because it rained last night? Because I ate asparagus, because of a steak, because of a shrimp. But understanding that they already have gout, and yes, there may be triggers, but then they do have gout, and this is just okay, maybe just the final. Like I went for a jog yesterday, triggered my gout, right? So it sounds like you had presented with gout, unfortunately didn't have the right diagnosis and then told you would get better. And then you kind of just did what your doctor did, which is, hey, take some anti-inflammatory medications
Mhm.
over the years until you finally got someone that could hear you.
That's correct. I was finally able to get in front of a person that actually understood what gout is. So gout is not just a feeling that comes on. You have gout one day and then you don't have it next week. Gout, from my understanding now, now that I've really dove into gout and tried to understand what the disease is, it's a lifelong disease. There is no cure right now that we have for gout. It can be managed. Gout's been around for a long time, as you know, right? We had this conversation before,
We
back
did.
when
Yeah.
the pyramid days, right? Like thousands of years. It's been around forever. Mankind has known about it. And I was telling you, there's no better time to have gout than now. In the sense, I mean, nobody wants gout,
Yeah.
but there's no better time because we have
Because we can.
so many tools, right, in the
Okay.
toolbox.
Okay.
It can be easily diagnosed and
Yeah.
easily managed if we understand that gout is a lifelong disease. There's very little that we can do to manage it on our own. We can eat the
Yeah.
healthiest of diets,
Yes.
but that alone for most people will not be enough. And I say that for one thing, and that is because I want to address the guilt factor that comes into play. If you have gout, it is not your fault.
Yeah.
The good Lord has made us this way. We
Yeah.
are over producers of uric
Uric
acid.
acid.
And then some of us even under excretin, we have both. And so we're overproducing this uric acid and we're under excreting. And that's just how, the good Lord made us this way. And there's nothing we can do. So that alone, if you understand that, you can remove the guilt factor. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
And guilt is a big thing within
Yeah.
gout. Hmm.
Yeah, you're right. I think multiple things you touched on there is definitely because the guilt, people don't understand that the guilt is what prevents people from getting the care they need.
Yeah.
The guilt is what makes you hide, not make you talk to people about what you're going through. And if you don't talk to either your healthcare providers or people that love you, so that you can get help because you're thinking that, oh, it's because I overindulged in XYZ, then it prevents you from getting the care. And then we're back in that cycle. So the guilt really needs to be addressed. The good news too is that we're finding that there are genes that actually increase that under excretion that you talked about. The fact
Hmm.
that their kidneys are holding on to more uric acid. And so again, we're back to we can't blame the victim. We can't blame the patient. We can't blame the sufferer. You know, and in that tone, there are many people that live in fear of their next gout flare.
Mm.
Do you have, are there any strategies or mindset shifts
Yes.
that you've seen help either yourself or other people? Because you've worked with a huge number of people that are dealing with this, that has helped people to move from fear to having a sense of control. Any thoughts on this?
Yes, this is important. There is a strategy that's involved, and first that's understanding what gout is and how it lives with us. So again, there's no cure for gout. The best strategy I can say is that imagine if you're living in a cabin and you're surrounded by trees and there's dry seasons, right? And you know that there's going to be a season that's going to come along where your cabin is prone to fire. Well, do you sit there and wait till the fire comes and run around with a hose? Or are you going to be proactive, understanding that this condition is here and you're going to fireproof your cabin, right? So that's the same mindset. You understand that gout is here. If you have gout, it's here. Accept it. Like, receive that and give yourself a lot of grace, right? Give
Mm,
yourself a
yeah.
lot of grace. You need to be living in this grace, right? It's not your fault. Secondly, now that you know that you are in this cabin and you're surrounded with dry woods and tinder, let's be proactive about it. So we teach our people within our gout community to move from a reactive care for gout, meaning that you wait for the next flare to come and then you react and you do something. No, we have to be proactive about it. How can I make my body, this cabin here, fireproof to the next flare? Well, that is to understand uric acid level is everything for a gout patient. We need to be doing everything we can to bring our uric acid level down to a level where your body will no longer be triggered by the next meal that you eat, right? By the next trigger that might come along that we think causes gout. Food doesn't cause gout. A trauma, maybe hitting your elbow against the table, doesn't cause gout. It's actually the high uric acid that has created little crystals around your joints over time that needs to be dissolved. The only way to do that is to be proactive. Find a physician that understands gout. This is very important because unfortunately, not all physicians are the same in the fact that they know what gout is. Be proactive. Work to fireproof your body. Accept the fact that you have gout. It's not your fault. And that with time, as you journey with other people living with gout and feel that supportive community, you're going to be more and more fireproof. You're going to move from a fear base to a freedom based lifestyle.
I love that. Thank you so much. I actually really love your analogy. That is such a smart one. I think people understand, hey, I live in a cabin, I'm in a forest. It tends to have fires. So what are we going to do? Are we going to sit down, wait for the fire to engulf the cabin, and then start running around try to put it out, which usually results in collateral damage? Or do we fireproof the place, right? To make sure that, yes, when the fire comes, we are prepared and actually we can actually prevent the fire, right? So prevention in this case, I'm going to quote you exactly, is definitely much better than cure.
Mhm.
Can you tell us, I think we skipped over this because we think about gout all the time. But can you tell for people who are not, who are just listening to us for the first time, what is gout?
Yeah, it's gout. In my simple mind, is your body's inability to
It's
get
not
rid
simple. Your
of.
mind's not simple. Your mind's pretty complex.
Thank you. So gout, when you have gout, it's your body's inability to get rid of uric acid, which everybody produces. Everybody that live on this earth produces uric acid. But for your average person, they actually can flush this out through just living life. People like me, we hang on to it. We think it's gold. Like my body loves uric acid. It just hangs on to it. And so when I understood that and I was able to work with my rheumatologist, I take an oral medication. I take it daily. It's my ritual. Every morning I wake up, oh, I take my medication. This empowers my body to be able to just flush out uric acid on a daily basis. And so it removes that guilt, that fear factor. Now I'm able to actually live a normal life. It took a little bit of time, to tell you the truth, to bring that level down. And so all that to say that you can live a normal life once you understand that gout is not curable, but it is manageable. So do everything you can. You can live a healthy lifestyle. You can eat healthy, and I actually promote that. I eat healthy. I'm a foodie. I have to tell you, I love food. I'm the guy that if you take me to a restaurant with you, I will prevent you from eating your food because I need to take a picture of that plate, and then I'll post it and I talk about it.
Now we can eat.
Yes, now you can eat. I love food. And so, but when you're able to eat and you control your gout and you're able to eat and experience freedom, that's what it's all about. It's
Yeah.
gout. It's about controlling your uric acid level, and if you understand that your body cannot do it on its own, then you need to understand that you have to work with a partner, a
Yeah.
gout specialist that can give you more tools that your body is lacking
Yeah.
to manage your uric acid level and keep it low.
Yeah. That is so true. So, there's, when I think about your story and kind of what you what your journey was. It went from, okay, they didn't know what it was, they knew what it was, they made the diagnosis, they started the treatment, but it takes a while to get to
Mhm.
that point where people now have that freedom around food. So, did you have any strategies to kind of deal with that part? Because I think that's part of the frustrating part that people experience, which is I saw the doctor, they made the diagnosis, they gave me the medicine. Why am I still having attacks?
Yeah, that's
Any
such a
thoughts
great question.
about?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a great question. It's again, it goes back to understanding gout, and when I experienced my first gout attack in 1994, what I understand now is that that wasn't when my body said you have gout. In fact, most likely is that I've had gout for years prior, maybe at 18, 19 years old, right? And my body's already producing high uric acid level, and I didn't even know it. But over the years, it had accumulated enough crystals, and these crystals are like needles, like little tiny needles, right, inside your body. And
Yeah.
so all of a sudden, I turned 24, and that's when my body said, "Oh my God, we can't handle it anymore. You have too much crystals." And then my first attack came. So understanding that it took time to experience your first gout attack,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to take a little bit of time, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have to be patient. It's going to take a little bit of time for your body to actually clean house.
Mm-hmm.
The only way you can start cleaning, deep cleaning the house is to make sure your uric acid level drops below, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but the lower the better, but at least under 6,
Yeah.
right? At least,
Under 6, under
yeah.
6 if it's mild, but if it's very severe, then we like 5 as a better number, milligrams per DL. Just because there are
Yes.
people in other countries who use different metrics, but we're using yeah, most people is less than 6. If you have severe gout with those lumps and tophi, that's usually less than 5 milligrams per DL. But you're right.
Yes, and me personally, I would say also know your number. I have a at-home kit that I use. It's available now. It's like a diabetic, right? We take a little prick of our blood,
Yes.
drip it on this little
Yeah.
stick. It gives you a reading. It might not be super, super accurate, but it's
Hmm.
accurate enough. And if you use the same scale, if you weigh yourself every morning, you using the same scale, you create
A
a,
baseline.
a line, right? You know where you're at. I know that my average uric acid level, Dr. Dollar, is under 4. It's
Good
I
for
think
you. Yeah.
3.7 or so.
Yeah.
So I keep
Yeah.
it way low. The lower, the
Yeah.
better, because I want that margin.
Yeah.
Us gout patients, Dr. Dada, I think the best analogy is that we walk on a tightrope,
Yes.
right? And what I would love to do is, the lower the uric acid level, the bigger the rope that I'm walking on, so I have more balance, right?
Yes.
And so I can eat my brisket, which I love. I love
Once you get your
smoking.
uric acid less than 6, yes,
Yes,
more freedom. Once we
more
can get
freedom,
that, yeah,
right?
once we get that uric acid
Yeah,
low, when we're still struggling, we do need to think about your diet because we just don't
correct,
want you having many more attacks. But
correct.
once we get your uric acid controlled, then there's just more freedom.
Correct. And that's where we want to be. That's the whole point of what we're doing is to allow the gout community to regain their quality of life. And quality of life is living in confidence and not out of fear.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
Yeah. So when you bring up community, how important is community, family, peer support when people are dealing with gout?
oh gosh, no person lives on an island. I love to say
Mhm.
that. And the Gout Support Group of America, and even your support groups in general are very important, because even our loved ones, they want to support, but they still don't understand the depth of gout and the painfulness of gout. And honestly, the stigma of gout is real. When I was living with gout and I was hanging out with my friends, they all had a nickname for me. I was called Gimpy. Gimpy, or the
Oh
other, and it was
no!
all done in
Guilty.
loving fun. All, how boys are.
Yeah.
My other
Kids.
nickname was Gout Boy, right? Gimpy and Gout Boy, and that's just out of empathy in a sense. They want to be fun about it, but they don't understand the pain. And I used
Yeah,
to
they
think,
don't.
God, if you can live through what I'm living through right now, you would not be laughing, right?
Yeah,
Usually, the only people that actually understand that journey is those living with gout, and that's why
yeah,
support groups are very important. That's why the Gout Support Group of America was started. It was
yeah,
started out of my frustration, and as I reflected back, during the 16 years of struggling with gout, there was no clear answers, no clear direction. It was eat cherries, drink orange juice,
yeah,
eat yams, stay
yeah,
away from this, stay away from that.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was so frustrating and confusing.
There are a lot of conflicting information in there out there. And so, and I think that's another battle that patients dealing with gout have to deal with. But if we can get that uric acid less than 6 or 5, if you have severe gout, then we really have more freedom and less of this noise about what you can eat and what you can't eat. Any thoughts about, the misconceptions that people have about gout that you typically encounter in a lot of the work that you do?
Well, I would say that, your average doctor will think gout only affects middle-aged white men.
Mm,
And that's so outdated. That's just not even based on any reality at all.
yeah,
And I'm going to lean into the fact that, gout is very much connected to genetics. It's very much connected to your family history. A good rheumatologist or a good physician that understands gout will know that they have to act like a detective. They're looking all over the place. They're looking for bits and pieces to put this picture together. And then I would also say that as a gout patient, you need to help your physician. You need to find your voice. That's why the Gout Support Group of America is created. We want to, help physicians rethink gout. We want to reimagine what gout will look like in the healthcare space. We want to help people find their voice because if you can't speak up for yourself, Dr. Dada, nobody will speak up for you. And
that's so
that's out
true.
of experience.
That is so true. That is so true. So if you have one message to give someone who's newly diagnosed with gout, assuming they haven't heard everything we said so far. If you had one message to give to someone newly diagnosed with gout, what would it be to help them feel more hopeful and empowered? What do you think, Gary?
Well, that's a great question. I'm going to lean into this question and just say that first, I understand your journey. I understand your frustrations and even the message of when someone comes and gives you maybe a solution, but I'm here to offer you a true message about hope. It's a message about hope that you are not alone. It is not your fault. And with gout, you can regain your quality of life. It's as simple as that. And I'm not overstating this at all. It is truly a message of hope. And that is what I want to pass on to our gout community.
Thank you so much, Gary. That I even felt moved to tears with that. So, there are lots of groups out there, but I think the Gout Support Group of America and our Got Gout Facebook group, are run by people who are passionate about informing people and helping people in our community raise awareness, get away from the fear, have more freedom around food. So I really thank you for your hard work and also for coming on the show today.
I appreciate it. And I would just also would love to add that if you have the opportunity to, Gout community, please visit our website. We have tons of resources there. It's www.goutsupportgroup.org. You'll find tons of free resources. Knowledge is power, and that knowledge will give you the freedom that you want.
In addition, Gout Support Group of America has a Facebook group, an Instagram, page as well as a YouTube channel. So we're going to have this all at the bottom of this episode. And yeah, we are so blessed to have had Gary. We've been trying to reach each other for a while, so I'm so glad we had this opportunity. You do such important work as a patient advocate, and sometimes, people have to hear their stories in other people's. So thank you so much for coming, sharing your story, sharing the love and the empowerment, and how people with gout can find themselves in this story, understand the misconceptions, but still push through so that they can live in a world without fear.
Oh, I appreciate you too. And I love our rheumatologists out there that partner with our community. Thank you for this opportunity and thank you for having me as a guest.
Okay, everybody, please like this, share this video with anyone that you think would benefit from it. And thank you so much for coming to the Healthy Joints, Healthy Lifestyle Show. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye bye.